Let's get physical. It's Jordan here, back in with this month's update on all the physical releases coming to PlayStation and Xbox consoles. As always, this video was researched, written, and edited by my man Tim. It's all down to him. Apart from my voice, he can't do my voice yet. All of this is his work, and let's see what he's got for us. Total Chaos is releasing on the 2nd of March for PS5 in Europe, a survival horror that began life as an ambitious Doom 2 total conversion mod and has since been reborn as a standalone game. Reception has been broadly positive but hardly unanimous, praise for mood, question for combat and pacing, and it very much remains a slow, abrasive experience by design. This PS5 release bundles in recent updates, so good for collectors of niche releases, and my executive producer Mr. Awesome has chosen this as his pick of the month. RollerCoaster Tycoon 3 is releasing on the 6th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A new release of RollerCoaster Tycoon 3, the theme park management sim originally launched in 2004. You build rides, design coasters, manage staff and finances, and try not to bankrupt yourself while meeting guest demands. This edition brings the base game and its expansion together with modern system support, quality of life tweaks, and current gen performance, but it's fundamentally the same management game experience that it always has been: detailed, slow burn, and very much a system-based game over spectacle. And my executive producers Azrath and God of Resin have chosen this as their pick of the month. The Bearer and the Last Flame is releasing on the 6th of March for PS5 in Europe, a solo-developed dark fantasy action RPG clearly heavily inspired by Souls-like, tasking you with carrying the last remaining flame through a hostile, monster-ridden world. Combat is deliberate, and the expected punishing nature with melee, ranged, and magic options comes with very little hand-holding. Ambitious for a one-person project, though expectations are understandably tempered, more for the curious and those who have played all the rest. Wild West Legacy is releasing on the 10th of March for PS5 in both North America and Europe, effectively a console rebrand of Wild West Dynasty, the open-world frontier survival sim. The core structure remains the same as the 2023 PC release: resource gathering, town planning, and slow progression. That PC version launched to notably poor Steam reception, criticized for bugs, pacing, and unfulfilled ambition, which makes the quiet shift to the Legacy title feel like it's just repackaging for consoles in hopes of a kind of second impression. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando is releasing on the 12th of March for Xbox and PS5 in both North America and Europe, a co-op first-person shooter from Saber Interactive, borrowing John Carpenter's name and the 80s horror energy for a co-op gore-stacked shooter. It's got vehicles, big guns, and clearly chasing that Left 4 Dead crowd, just with more neon grime and B-movie filter slapped over it. It's not out yet, so no verdict, but it looks loud, chaotic, and co-op comfort food rather than anything revolutionary. This would have been huge in the 2010s though, and my executive producers, Instacritic and Super Ben Julio, have chosen this as their pick of the month. And if you want it or any of the games in this video, then please purchase them via the links in the description and pinned comment. I have linked to Video Games Plus, who are a fantastic company with free worldwide shipping on orders over 75 Canadian dollars, which is like 55 American bucks, not that much. And any purchase made via my links helps support me in the best way possible. I thank you ever so much from the bottom of my heart. Fatal Frame 2 Crimson Butterfly Remake is releasing on the 12th of March for Xbox, PS5, and Nintendo Switch 2 as a game key. Boo! A full remake of Fatal Frame's most iconic entry, Crimson Butterfly swaps its original early 2000s visuals for a modern engine while keeping the core survival horror intact. Two sisters exploring a haunted village with a camera as your only weapon. It will provide an incredible, almost unrivaled atmosphere. Early impressions and previews suggest the remake looks amazing, with richer environments and more detailed character work, but the slow pacing, exploration-first design, and deliberate resource scarcity that defines the original remains front and center. So far, with the recent remakes, nostalgia plus improved presentation seems to be working, and a great way to introduce the classics to the younger generation who weren't even born when these titles originally came out. And my executive producers, Jimmy A. Guerrero, OGCIB, Louis K., Cartoon Soren, Adamantium, Firm Returns, John Jamin, and my man Tim, it is their pick of the month. GreedFall: The Dying World is releasing on the 12th of March for Xbox and PS5 worldwide, a sizable expansion to GreedFall 2, adding new regions, factions, and more morally murky politics to its colonial fantasy setting. An RPG adventure with lots of talky diplomacy, stamina-based combat, and systems that are deeper in theory than in execution. Iron Fury Double Shot is releasing on the 19th of March for PS4 and Switch in Europe. a definitive physical edition of Iron Fury that bundles the base game with its Aftershock expansion, so the 90s style build engine shooter plus all the extra levels, weapons, enemies and modes from the DLC in one cartridge/disc. This double shot edition is currently the only confirmed retail physical version, combining both the original game and its Aftershock content together, so for people who love everything in one package, it could be worth a look, and my executive producer Nerdy Sean has chosen this as his pick of the month. Immortality is releasing on the 13th of March for PS5 in both North America and Europe, although in Europe it is still technically a North American release. An interactive film-style mystery from Sam Barlow, known for her story and telling lies. It isn't your typical horror or narrative game. You sift through lost footage of 3 fictional films and associated interviews to unravel what happened to a vanished actress. Critically, it's been very well received, earning generally favorable reviews and praise for its performance and unconventional storytelling. Though its non-linear, slow burn structure is certainly one worth checking out if you genuinely fancy something a bit different. Monster Hunter Stories 3 Twisted Reflection is releasing on the 13th of March for Xbox, PS5, and Nintendo Switch 2 as a game key. Boom! The third entry in Capcom's Monster Hunter Stories subseries sends you and your monster-bonded rider into a fractured world where reality and reflection blur, and strange mirror versions of monsters and societies have emerged. Like earlier Stories games, combat leans on tactical party play rather than twitch aiming. You choose your moves, exploit weaknesses, and manage skills in a familiar rock-paper-scissors loop. Pre-release impressions and previews suggest a more ambitious structure than its predecessor, with branching narrative paths, expanded exploration zones, and deeper monster bonding systems. Given the series' track record and popularity, this looks to be a title that will delight existing fans and hopefully be a good entry point for those new to the Stories sub-series. And my executive producers, JCross7776 and Dane Wilkinson, have chosen this as their pick of the month. Dead of Darkness is releasing on the 13th of March for PS5 in both North America and Europe. A survival horror action adventure presented in 2D pixel art, Dead of Darkness casts you as a private investigator, Miles Wyndham, drawn to the Velvet Island to uncover the truth behind his daughter's death. The game blends top-down exploration, limited ammo and resource management with puzzle solving and narrative delivered through voice-acted scenes and atmospheric writing. Very positive reviews on Steam, being praised for its strong narrative and presentation, so an indie worth some attention perhaps. And my executive producer Joshua L. has chosen this as his pick of the month. Fear the Spotlight is releasing on the 13th of March for PS5 in North America, a low polygon-style survival horror set in a schoolhouse following 2 teens after a seance that goes horribly wrong. There's a bit of light puzzle solving and deliberate stealth over combat, all wrapped in chunky retro visuals and earnest 90s vibe. Critically well received for its atmosphere and attempt at classic gameplay, though its short runtime and simplicity means it's more of a neat revival piece rather than a genre staple. Star Wars Dark Forces Remaster is releasing on the 13th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. Night Dive's modern overhaul of 1995's FPS classic, putting you back in the boots of this much-loved Star Wars entry. Visuals and performance are cleaned up with higher resolutions and modern controls, but the level design and mechanics remain firmly mid-90s. Love for its faithfulness to the original game rather than a reinvention. It won't feel quite so modern to, well, modern gamers, but personally I think it is a fantastic title that is well worth exploring the galaxy for. Once an LRG release, it's nice to see a general retail copy available like now. WWE 2K26 is releasing on the 13th of March for Xbox, PS5, and Nintendo Switch 2 as a game key. Boom! The latest annual installment from the long-running wrestling franchise, promising updated rosters, new match types, and a refreshed suite of presentation packages. Pre-release impressions suggest 2K26 continues to straddle the familiar line. Some improvements and polish in animations and menus, but the core mechanics and pacing will feel very familiar to anyone who, played the last couple of years' releases. In other words, if you like the recent formula, you will know what to expect. If you didn't, this is not likely to change your mind, but my executive producers Jedacrow and Justin PDC have chosen this as their pick of the month. Warplanes, World War I Sky Aces, and World War II Dogfight is releasing on the 13th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A 2-in-1 bundle of arcade-style aerial combat games covering both world wars. This leans firmly towards accessible action over hardcore simulation. Reception has been modest, if we're going to be generous there, with straightforward flying and limited depth being the common takeaways. MLB The Show 26 is releasing on the 17th of March for Xbox, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch as a code in a box. Sony's annual baseball sim returns with updated rosters, animation tweaks, and the usual refinements to the Road to the Show and Diamond Dynasty. As ever, it's more incremental polish than dramatic overhaul. If you buy this every year, you will know exactly what to expect. Slightly smoother presentation, slightly improved physics, and yeah, it's baseball. Rushing Beat X Return of the Brawl Brothers is releasing on the 19th of March for PS5 and Nintendo Switch 2, at least in Europe. North America has to wait until next month, I think. A revival of the old Super Nintendo beat-em-up, this modern update drops you back into the side-scrolling, the branching paths, with a soundtrack that leans into the retro spirit. It's very much built for fans of old-school arcade beat-em-ups. Familiar brawling loops and co-op support define it for better or worse, but on a personal note, it seems to be a considerable visual downgrade from its origins. It looks really cheap. Crimson Desert is releasing on the 19th of March for Xbox and PS5 worldwide. Pearl Abyss's long-in-development fantasy epic finally arrives, blending open-world exploration, cinematic quests, and real-time combat across a very large map. It's been reshaped more than once since its first reveal, shifting from MMO spin-off to standalone action RPG with blockbuster ambitions. Early previews praise the spectacle, but there are so many questions about whether this one will deliver, making this feel less like a guaranteed genre classic and more like a very expensive roll of the dice. But who can say, it could be a classic in the waiting. And my executive producers Big Bruno and Vey have chosen this as their pick of the month. Dragonkin The Banished is releasing on the 19th of March for Xbox and PS5 in Europe, a dark fantasy action RPG with hack and slash-like leanings, casting you as a dragon-touched exile, hacking through grim landscapes and stamina bars. PC reception has been mixed, with combat repetition and pacing doing it few favors, very much one for genre diehards rather than anyone looking for the next big breakout. Park Ranger Simulator is releasing on the 19th of March for PS5 in Europe, a quiet, low-stakes open-world sim where you patrol trails, guide visitors, and manage campfires rather than face down predators or disasters. The premise sounds like Animal Crossing with binoculars. However, the comparison ends there, as this is objectively terrible. The PC version's reception is notably poor, with common complaints about empty world, repetitive chores, and lackluster mechanics that make the whole endeavor feel more like horrible, busy work. It is best avoided. But my executive producer, Dave Holworth, he's gunning for it. It is his pick of the month. Ghost Master Resurrection is releasing on the 20th of March for Xbox, PS5, and Switch in both North America and Europe. A revival of the cult 2003 strategy sim, this updated edition revisits you as a spectral overlord commanding a team of ghosts to haunt locations, manipulate the living, and solve occult puzzles. The original had a small but dedicated following for its quirky tone and unusual concept. This Resurrection is pitched as a faithful update with modern visuals and controls. If you already liked the offbeat original, there's some appeal here, but for everyone else, well, it could be something a little different that may pique your interest. Voidwrought is releasing on the 20th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A 2D action platformer slash Metroidvania with hand-drawn art, the usual traversal, boss-heavy encounters, and relic collection. Originally released digitally on PC and Switch in late 2024 to somewhat middling reviews, but generally praised for the art and traversal, and the usual Metroidvania criticism that is simply nowhere near the greats. But if you can't get enough of them, then it could be worth a look. Ariana and the Elder Codex is releasing on the 24th of March for PS4, PS5, and Switch worldwide. A side-scrolling action RPG from Compile Heart, where a magical librarian dives into corrupted spellbooks to restore lost power and unlock new abilities. Lots of platforming, spell slot customization, and plenty of anime-tinged boss fights across interconnected 2D stages. It already released in Japan last year, and although it looks a bit like a vanillaware at home sort of thing, it could be an interesting title. Atomic Heart Ultimate Edition is releasing on the 24th of March for Xbox and PlayStation 5 in both North America and Europe. A release of Atomic Heart that bundles the base game with all major DLC updates and quality of life tweaks, and it is apparently the definitive edition, hopefully. Screamer is releasing on the 26th of March for Xbox and PS5 worldwide. A revival of the 1995 MS-DOS racer, Screamer is one of the earlier polygonal arcade driving games that very briefly attempted to go toe-to-toe with Ridge Racer and Daytona at the same time. Wow, that's brave. Seemed like an odd title to reboot, but they're really going for it. Beefy story modes and arcade revival racing, a bit of character personality rather than an ultra-detailed racing sim. Hopefully it succeeds. There is a gap in the market for it, and my executive producer Miami Sunrise has chosen this as his pick of the month. Until Then is releasing on the 26th of March for PS5 and Switch worldwide. Already out digitally since 2024, the physical copy bundles the extra After Images story content, all seemingly on the cartridge and disc. The visual novel with really positive reception, lots of praise for its quietly devastating narrative about memory, grief, and teenage awkwardness. And my executive producer Danielle O has chosen this as her pick of the month. Neopets Mega Mini Games Collection, the Neopian Arcade Odyssey, is releasing on the 26th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A console bundle of 60 plus bite-sized minigames pulled from the long-running Neopets web universe, trading depth for rapid-fire nostalgia. What once thrived in browser tabs now arrives neatly packaged for sofa play, for better or worse. Charming if you grew up feeding your shoryu after school, I don't know what that means, but decidedly lightweight if you didn't. And my executive producer Ghost Bune has chosen this as her pick of the month. Etrange Overlord is releasing on the 26th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A sushi lane musical action adventure, yes, that is the genre, that's what they're calling it. From the creator of Disgaea and Rhapsody, you play a sweet-loving noble executed and sent to hell, where she decides to seize power in her own way. The game mixes frenetic action RPG combat with a revolving lane mechanic that cycles items, buffs, and characters around stages, and also has up to 4-player co-op aside from the solo story. Some amazing character designs from the Disgaea dude, I'm not going to say his name because I'm going to butcher it. Expect the similar kind of dialogue that you find there as well. Hopefully this could be a hidden gem. And my executive producer Cava Clavacol has chosen this as his pick of the month. Life is Strange Reunion is releasing on the 26th of March for Xbox and PS5 worldwide. A new mainline entry bringing Max and familiar baggage back into the spotlight, leaning hard into memory, consequence, and the emotional fallout of past choices. You'll find the usual dialogue trees, moody wandering, and at least one scene clearly designed to soundtrack an existential crisis. If you're already invested, this is catnip. If you previously found the series a bit, self-serious, Reunion is not going to change your mind. New Super Lucky's Tale is releasing on the 26th of March for PS5 in both North America and Europe. A refreshed release of the much-loved 3D platformer, originally on PS4 and Switch. This PS5 version brings the same bright collectathon goodness to Sony's current box. You guide Lucky through colorful worlds, gathering items and tackling simple platforming challenges in an accessible, low-stress package. There's no major reinvention for PS5, it's just the same game, but running even better. Mega Man Star Force Legacy Collection is releasing on the 27th of March for PS5, PS4, and Switch in North America and Japan. The anthology of all 7 Star Force games, 1, 2, and 3, and all their variants, originally released on Nintendo DS in the mid-2000s. This collection brings them all together with quality of life features like save states, screen filters, and special bonus cards, preserving the originals beautifully. It's squarely aimed at fans of the DS entries and series completionists. If you grew up with these or are curious about, quieter corners of the Mega Man family tree, it is a neat package and one worth a look, and my executive producers, the Nemo 6 and Robotech, have chosen this as their pick of the month. Please Be Happy is releasing on the 27th of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe. A comfy Yuri visual novel from Studio Elan, following Miho, a fox spirit searching for the person who once showed her kindness. There's branching dialogue, multiple romance routes, and a strong focus on cozy slice of life character moments. Aureole, Wings of Hope is releasing on the 27th of March for PS5 in Europe, a high-speed precision platformer where you launch and dash a celestial halo through vibrant biomes filled with hazards, collectibles, and momentum-heavy level design. Inspired by classic precision runners such as Sonic, Celeste, and Super Meat Boy, levels demand snappy reflexes and a grasp of impulse-based movement as you help an angelic protagonist reclaim their home. Niche but very well received, so maybe worth a look. The Bus is releasing on the 27th of March for PS5 in Europe, an ultra-detailed city bus driving simulator that brings a long-running PC title to the PS5. Run licensed buses along accurate one-to-one routes around Berlin, sticking to timetables, managing passengers and traffic, and generally doing everything a real bus driver should do. Reviews have been rubbish for it though. Harvest Moon: The Winds of Anthos Complete Edition is releasing on the 27th of March for PS5 and Switch in Europe, a physical release of The Winds of Anthos that collects the base game and all the DLC. True to the series' DNA, it's a laid-back farming and life sim where you grow crops, raise animals, build relationships with townsfolk, and take part in seasonal events. Of course, it's not the real Harvest Moon you may all remember from your childhood, and it's definitely not as good as the Story of Seasons franchise, which is the Harvest Moon you remember as a kid. Ereban Shadow Legacy is releasing on the 27th of March for PS5 in Europe. North America will have to wait until next month. A sci-fi stealth platformer built around its shadow merge ability, slipping into darkness, infiltrating facilities, and generally just trying not to be seen. It launched on PC in 2024 to generally positive reception, but didn't make a big splash. Maybe it will take off more on consoles. Bloody Rally Show is releasing on the 30th of March for PS4 and Switch in Europe, a top-down combat racing roguelike where you drift and boost through circuits filled with hazards and power-ups. A well-liked indie, even if it's for a very few select people. It is a very niche but nice thing if you're into it. Astral Ascent Stellar Edition is releasing on the 31st of March for PS5 and Switch in Europe. This was supposed to come out late last year, but it was delayed, so just quickly, this bundles everything together in one package with all the patches up to 2.0, and it is much better than the limited run edition which came out last year. Metal Suits Counter Attack is releasing on the 31st of March for PS5 and Switch in Europe, a 2D side-scrolling run-and-gun where you play as a cyborg adventure fighting through alien hordes with a range of combat suits and reflex-based combat. It's pixel art action inspired by old-school action platformers with multiple planets to explore and boss fights. Sim World 6 is releasing on the 31st of March for PS5 in both North America and Europe, the latest entry in Dovetail Games' detailed rail simulation series. This lets you pilot a variety of real-world locomotives and manage services across authentically modeled routes with dynamic weather, time of days, and traffic systems. One for the train nerds. Sworn is releasing on the 31st of March for PS5 and Switch in both North America and Europe, a co-op action roguelike set in a corrupted Camelot where you and up to 3 allies battle fallen knights and twisted legends in ability-driven runs and an Arthurian myth filtered through Hades-style combat loops. Early impressions praise the punchy co-op and build variety, though it's firmly in the well-trodden roguelite lane. Laysara Summit Kingdom is releasing on the 31st of March for PS5 and Switch in Europe, a mountain-focused city builder where you establish and grow settlements across rugged peaks, balancing production chains, transport links, and weather hazards like avalanches as you climb towards the summit. It's pure strategy resource management as an experience, very well received on PC in early access. A quick mention to these games which are releasing after being delayed in certain regions. Wisman's World Retry. It's out in Europe already, but it will be in North America this month. Do Not Open and Overdark should be releasing this month in North America. Inspector Waffles Early Days should be March in Europe. Sonic Wings Reunion should be March for Switch and PS5 in Europe, and Bug Fables also this month. Although these are Red Arc Games releases, they are placeholders, I'm pretty sure, but we'll have to see. Alright, limited run games. Let's see what they've got for this month, what's ending this month. Fear Effect 2 Retro Helix pre-orders end on the 8th of March for PS5 and Switch. A modern port of the cult's 2001 prequel to Fear Effect, Retro Helix returns you to 2048 Hong Kong as the mercenaries unravel a blend of espionage and mythology. It keeps the series' signature mix of pre-rendered and FMV backgrounds, cel-shaded characters, and action puzzle design. Metro Awakening pre-orders end on the 15th of March for PS5, a VR exclusive entry in the Metro universe. Originally released in 2024, you step into the Moscow Metro as Serda, a doctor searching for his missing wife while scavenging air filters, weapons, and light in claustrophobic tunnels haunted by mutants and the supernatural. It is a popular series, and this entry has been reviewed pretty well, so if you're after a physical copy of a PS VR2 shooter, you might want to pre-order it. The Last Camp pre-orders end on the 22nd of March for PS5, a top-down action survival shooter set in a post-apocalyptic world. You'll clear zones of mutants and hostile machines, scavenge upgrades, weapons and tools, and balance limited resources like fuel and food to keep your camp going. This physical release includes the DLC packs as well. One Lonely Outpost is ending pre-orders on the 22nd of March for PS5 and Switch, a cozy base-building survival sim where you're tasked with restoring and expanding a remote outpost after the world has fallen quiet. Gather resources, build structures, manage energy and supplies, and occasionally fending off environmental hazards. You know what to expect here. Prison City pre-orders end on the 22nd of March for PS5 and Switch, a side-scrolling action shooter that feels like a love letter to early NES classics. You play as ex-cop Hal Bruiser, battling techno-terrorists across Mega Prison City with chakrams, grenades, and plenty of boss fights with an old-school soundtrack. Generally, well-received digitally for its tight action and nostalgic design. And my executive producer, Dead Bunny's YouTube, has chosen this as his pick of the month. Formation Z pre-orders end on the 22nd of March for PS5 and Switch 2, a reimagined port of the classic 1984 arcade shoot-'em-up originally developed by Jaleco. Formation Z sees you piloting a transformable combat suit that switches between fighter jet and mech modes on the fly to tackle waves of enemies across alien landscapes. Fans of old-school shooters should appreciate the faithful revival. If you're hoping for a big modern overhaul, well, this is more nostalgic arcade goodness than next-gen spectacle, but I'm sure it will please many old-school fans. Alright, the imports Play Asia territory. If you want to import any of these, you can do so via my Play Asia links where applicable, and you can get 5% off if you use my code Jordan2026. R-Type Tactics 1 and 2 Cosmos is releasing on the 12th of March for PS5, Switch, and Switch 2 as a game key in Japan. A dual-pack anthology brings together both R-Type Tactics games, the unique PSP turn-based strategy entries in the classic R-Type universe, ship-to-ship tactical battles, squad management, and a sprawling cast of interceptors and bombers across grid-based maps, blending R-Type's trademark sci-fi aesthetic into a deep SRPG system. The West will be getting this sometime in the summer, but if you want it early, you can import the Japanese version. It should play in English, and my executive producer G-Powdista100 has chosen this as his pick of the month. Cabernet is releasing on the 12th of March for PS5 and Switch in Japan. It's already out in Asia. This is an adventure game, RPG sort of thing, a bit like Vampire the Masquerade, just in an indie setting and on a side-scrolling view. It's pretty good for what it's going for and quite interesting. And my executive producer Sora Cat has chosen this as her pick of the month. Oh, and it's also releasing in Europe like sometime this year as well. Marvel Cosmic Invasion is releasing on the 12th of March for PS5, Switch, and Switch 2 in Japan. The Western release comes next month. It's a side-scrolling beat-em-up in the mold of classic arcade Marvel brawlers, letting you tag team between heroes to dismantle waves of alien forces across colorful comic book stages. Flashy superpowers, couch co-op, and a loving nod to 90s panel aesthetics rather than live service sprawl. This will be very welcome for many. You can wait for the Western release next month, or you can import it early if you just truly cannot wait. Disciples Domination is releasing on the 19th of March for PS5 in Japan, a turn-based fantasy strategy title in the spirit of the Disciple series, focusing on faction management, tactical battles, and kingdom building across a dark, high fantasy world. You recruit units, customize armies, and vie for control of contested territories while juggling diplomacy and things like that. I think it is releasing in the West sometime this year as well, but if you want it like right now, well, you get it from Japan. And my executive producer D's Nuts has chosen this as his pick of the month. Kemco RPG Selection Volume 6 is releasing on the 26th of March for PS5 in Japan and Asia. Feels like it's one of these every month. In this one, there's As Divine Chimera, Alphadia Genesis, Liege Dragon, and Dragon Lapis. Lapis Apis. This may come to the West at some point because they are starting to do them. I think they're up to Volume 3 in the West, but will they get up to 6? Who knows? Wuthering Waves is releasing on the 30th of March for PS5 in Japan, a free-to-play open-world action RPG popular in Japan and consistently high in download ranks. Wuthering Waves wins praise for its world-scale, slick dodge counter combat, and narrative ambition, though optimization and gacha styles are obviously not going to be for most of people out there, especially the older gamer like me. And seeing it as it is a free-to-play game, is the disc actually a proper disc or is it download? We don't know. Here are some Japanese releases that are already released in the West. And here are some Japanese releases that do not have English. Okay, let's move on to the community spotlight for my executive producers over on Patreon. Mr. Awesome sent in this photo picking up a double helping of Destroy All Humans. I'm not sure why they just don't make a new game in the franchise. As fun as these games were, I don't think like remakes of them would have the same kind of nostalgia pull as many other franchises do. Like a brand new game though, that would be interesting. D's Nuts sent in this photo picking up the very cultured Venus Vacation Prism, the biggest import ever on PlayStation 5, that is for sure. I don't know if it deserves that status, but you can't get between a man, his wallet, and his desires. Adamantium sent in this photo, picking up the collector's edition of Trails Beyond the Horizons with a very beautiful steelbook. It is a shame they only sell these on their website rather than somewhere, more widely available, but, I guess it's still there. Dave Horworth sent in this photo, picking up some Xbox games. I do wonder if those Gigantosaurus games were from VGP, who sold them for like $3.50 or so a week back, like super cheap. My man in Japan, picked up a bunch of the big games from last month, at least ones that released in Japan with English. I was really surprised no one chose Nihon 3 as their pick of the month like last time around. I thought there'd be at least one fan, and it's supposedly a pretty hyped game. Lewis K sent in this photo, picking up East 10 Proud Nordics, finally landing in the West. Kind of unfortunate timing with this one. I half expected Falcom to announce a third iteration of the game, like the millisecond this one came out in the West, but thankfully they didn't. Instacritic sent in this photo, picking up all sorts of stuff. Games I've either never heard of or have no memory talking about in this video series. The PS5 really does get some obscure stuff, mainly thanks to the low prints available on them. Like, anybody can print 1,000 copies of anything, really. It's not that much money, all things considered. Miami Sunrise sent in this photo, making me proud, picking up the recent expansion pack of Three Kingdoms 8. I have this on both Switch and PlayStation 5, and it's just so damn good. I know it's a relatively obscure import exclusive, but if you are a fan of the genre, it is a dream come true. Thank you so much to Singapore for offering an English physical release. And there we have all the physical games coming to PlayStation and Xbox this month. Thank you so much to Tim for putting this together. It would not be here without him. And of course, thank you to my executive producers on Patreon. And if you watched all the way through, you are awesome too. Thank you for watching. If you did watch all the way through, I want to know who you are, okay? Please leave me an emoji of a ghost in honor of Fatal Frame 2, okay? In fact, take a picture of that ghost. I have a camera in there. And yeah, go watch some of my other videos and have a fantastic day. Take care.